So imagine this. You spend your entire life building up your retirement nest egg. You finally hit that magic number, $500,000 sitting in your IRA. You think, great, this is a life-changing gift for my kids. But what if I told you that by the time they actually get that money, almost half of it could just vanish? It sounds crazy, but let's break down exactly how this happens.
So what changed? Well, it all comes down to a law Congress passed back in 2019 called the Secure Act, and this thing totally upended the rules for inheriting an IRA. The single biggest change, it killed a really powerful tool that people used for generations, something called the stretch IRA.
You see, before this law, the rules were incredible for your kids. If they inherited your IRA, they could stretch the withdrawals out over their entire life expectancy. We're talking small, manageable withdrawals each year. This meant tiny tax bills, and the rest of the money could keep growing tax-deferred for decades. It was a fantastic deal.
And now, yeah, that's gone. The new rule is simple and honestly pretty brutal. For most people inheriting an IRA, the entire account has to be completely drained within 10 years of the original owner's death, and every single dollar they pull out is taxed as regular income. No more stretching it out for 30 or 40 years, it's a 10-year ticking clock.
So who gets hit the hardest by this change? Well, it's the people you probably want to leave the money to most, your adult children. Think about it. They're probably in their 40s or 50s, right in their absolute peak earning years. Forcing them to withdraw hundreds of thousands of dollars on top of their salary is a recipe for disaster. It just shoves them into the highest tax brackets at the worst possible time.
Now, okay, it's important to know this doesn't apply to everyone. There are a few key exceptions. The biggest one is for a surviving spouse. They can just roll the IRA into their own name, no problem. The 10-year clock also gets paused for your own minor children, at least until they turn 21, and for beneficiaries who are disabled. But for the vast majority of adult kids inheriting an IRA, that 10-year rule is the new reality.
All right, let's make this real. We're going to walk through an example to see how this actually plays out. Let's meet Robert and Karen. They did everything right. They saved up a solid $500,000 in a traditional IRA. Robert passes away, and Karen, as his wife, just rolls it over. A few years later, Karen passes away, and the account goes to their son.
And this is their son, Michael. He's 48, he's single, and he's already earning a good salary, $130,000 a year. By the time his mom passes, that IRA has grown to about $520,000. Michael is about to learn, the hard way, how these new rules can turn a wonderful gift into a massive tax headache.
The second Michael inherits that account, a 10-year countdown starts ticking. He has exactly 1 decade to get all $520 grand, plus whatever it grows to, out of that account. He has a few ways he can do this, and the path he picks is going to make a $250,000 difference. No joke.
Okay, first let's look at Path A. We're going to call this one the lump sum disaster. Let's say Michael just ignores the account for 9 years. He lets it grow, and then in year 10, right before the deadline, he pulls every penny out at once. This is, without a doubt, the worst possible thing he could do.
And here's why it's a disaster. Over those 9 years, the IRA grew to about $680,000. When he yanks it all out, he has to add that to his $130,000 salary. So his income for that 1 year skyrockets to over $800,000. That just launches him into the absolute highest federal tax bracket.
The tax bill is just staggering. The federal tax alone on that withdrawal is $209,000. Then you add in an estimated 50 grand for state taxes, and the total damage is more than $250,000. Gone, paid directly to the government.
Just let that sink in for a second. He started with an inheritance worth over $500,000, and he is left with just $261,000. He lost nearly 50% of his parents' life savings, all because of when he took the money out.
Okay, that was ugly. Let's look at a much smarter way to do this. This is Path B, the spreading strategy. Instead of waiting until the end, Michael decides to spread the withdrawals out evenly over the full 10 years.
And this simple little change makes a world of difference. By taking out about $52,000 each year, yeah, it adds to his income, but he completely avoids that one massive spike. His total income stays low enough that he stays in the much more manageable 24% federal tax bracket.
So what's the total tax bill over that decade? It comes out to around $155,000. Now look, that's still a ton of money to pay in taxes, but it is over $100,000 less than the tax bill he paid in Path A.
A much, much better outcome.
So in this scenario, Michael's net inheritance is about $365,000. He saved himself a fortune compared to waiting, but he still lost around 30% of the original value to taxes. So it's better, but it's far from perfect. Which leads to the question, is there a way to keep it all?
Yes, there is. And that brings us to Path C, which we'll call the proactive plan. And this one has nothing to do with what Michael does. It's all about what his parents, Robert and Karen, did before they passed away. They were proactive. They systematically converted their traditional IRA into a Roth IRA over time.
This right here is the game changer. See, when you inherit a Roth IRA, that 10-year rule, it still applies. You still have to empty the account, but, and this is a huge but, every single dollar you withdraw is completely 100% tax-free.
So what's the tax bill? Zero. A big, fat zero. Michael gets the entire $520,000, plus all the growth it had, and not one single cent goes to federal or state income taxes. This is what proactive planning looks like.
Let's just put it all side by side so you can really see the difference. The starting inheritance is the same in all three scenarios, but look at the total taxes. $259,000, $155,000, or zero. And the final amount for Michael, the difference between the worst case and best case scenario is nearly $250,000. That is staggering.
So how can parents actually set up this perfect scenario for their kids? Well, the most powerful tool in the playbook is the Roth conversion. The strategy is pretty simple, really. During your retirement, when your own income is probably lower, you strategically convert pieces of your traditional IRA to a Roth each year. Yeah, you have to pay the income tax on what you convert now, but you're probably paying it at a much lower rate, like 12 or 22%. You're basically prepaying the tax bills so your kids can inherit it and pay a 0% rate later.
Okay, a second strategy to consider is life insurance. Once you hit a certain age, the government forces you to take money out of your traditional IRA every year. These are called required minimum distributions, or RMDs. So instead of just spending that money, you can use it to pay the premiums on a life insurance policy. The huge advantage here is that the death benefit from life insurance passes to your kids completely income tax-free. And it isn't subject to that 10-year withdrawal rule at all.
And a third strategy. This one is for anyone who's charitably inclined. It's called a Qualified Charitable Distribution, or a QCD. This lets you donate money, up to $105,000 a year now, directly from your IRA to your favorite charity. It's like a triple win. The donation counts as your required withdrawal, it's not taxable income for you, and, most importantly for this conversation, it lowers the final balance in the IRA, which reduces the future tax bomb for your kids.
So look, the most important thing to take away from all of this, the one thing I really want you to remember is this. A $500,000 IRA is simply not a $500,000 inheritance anymore, not without careful planning. The tax hit is real, and as we've seen, it can be absolutely massive. This isn't a matter of opinion, it's just the math.